He called me the doormat. I was replacing the furnace filter in the basement when I heard Trevor's voice upstairs, talking to someone on speakerphone. My son-in-law. The man who'd been living under my roof for 16 months now, rent-free, along with my daughter Sarah and their 2 kids. Yeah, Gary's cool with it, Trevor said, his voice carrying down the stairs. He's basically our doormat. I just tell him what needs fixing and he does it. Free labor, man. I stood there in the dim basement, holding that dirty filter, feeling something cold settle in my chest. Doormat. That's what my own son-in-law called me. Not Gary, not even Sarah's dad. Doormat. I'm 63 years old. I worked 37 years as a machinist at Bombardier before they downsized my entire department. My wife Linda died 4 years ago from ovarian cancer. When Sarah called me 2 winters back, crying because they'd lost their rental in Mississauga and had nowhere to go with a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, I didn't hesitate. This was my daughter. My grandkids. Family helps family, right? That was January 2023. It was supposed to be 3 months, maybe 4, just until Trevor found steady work again. He'd been laid off from his sales job. Something about performance issues he never quite explained clearly. Now it was May 2024, and Trevor still hadn't found that steady work. He had interviews, he said, opportunities, networking events, but every week brought a new excuse. The job market was tough. They wanted someone younger. The commute was too far. The pay was insulting. Meanwhile, I was the one paying for groceries, paying the increased hydro bills, paying for the internet upgrade because Trevor needed faster speeds for his job search, paying for the backyard playset I built for the grandkids because Trevor said they needed fresh air and exercise. I climbed the basement stairs slowly, my knees protesting. The house was quiet now. Trevor had finished his call. I found him in my living room, sprawled on my leather recliner, the one Linda had saved up for and surprised me with on our 30th anniversary. He was scrolling through his phone, a half-empty bag of my Ruffles chips beside him. "Hey, Gary," he said without looking up. "The toilet in the main bathroom is running again. Can you fix that today? It's keeping Sarah up at night." Not, "Can you take a look when you have a chance?" Not, "Do you mind helping out?" "Can you fix that today?" Like I was the building superintendent. "Sure," I said. "I'll grab my tools." "Thanks, bud." Still didn't look up from his phone. I went to fix the toilet. Because that's what I did. That's what I'd been doing for 16 months. Fixing things. Cooking meals when Sarah worked her nursing shifts at Credit Valley Hospital. Driving the kids to daycare and soccer and swimming lessons. Shoveling the driveway at 6 in the morning before Trevor woke up because he had a bad back, apparently. Doormat. The word followed me around for days. I heard it when Trevor asked me to detail his Civic because he had a job interview. I heard it when he suggested I might want to eat dinner earlier so they could have the dining room to themselves for Sarah's birthday. I heard it when he told me the lawn needed cutting and maybe I should do it before the weekend because his parents were visiting. His parents, that was another thing. Doug and Patricia had been to visit twice since Trevor and Sarah moved in. Both times, I'd made myself scarce, gone to Canadian Tire or Tim Hortons, given them space. Both times, when I came back, Trevor's mom had rearranged my kitchen cupboards to make things more efficient, and his dad had criticized my choice of barbecue, saying a Weber was the only real option for a serious griller. I'd grilled on my $30 Walmart special for 15 years. Linda and I had grilled salmon and chicken and vegetables on that thing every summer, sitting on our back deck, watching the sun go down over the neighborhood. That barbecue worked just fine, but I didn't say anything to Doug. I just nodded and said I'd consider upgrading. Doormat. 3 weeks after I overheard that phone call, things escalated. I woke up at 2:15 in the morning to pounding on my bedroom door. "Gary! Gary!" Trevor's voice, loud enough to wake the whole street. I stumbled out of bed, my heart racing. Was someone hurt? Was there a fire? I opened the door. Trevor stood there in his boxer shorts and a Raptors t-shirt, holding his phone. "I need you to drive me to the 24-hour Shoppers," he said. "Sarah's got a migraine and we're out of Advil." I blinked at him, still half asleep. "Can't you drive yourself?" I had 3 beers watching the game. "I'm not risking it." He said this like it was obvious, like it was perfectly reasonable to wake up a 63-year-old man in the middle of the night. "Trevor, it's 2 in the morning. I know what time it is, Gary. My wife is in pain. Are you seriously going to make her suffer because you want to sleep? The way he said it, like I was the problem. Like I was being selfish. I drove him to Shoppers, waited in the parking lot while he went in, drove him back. He didn't say thank you. He said, "You should keep better stock of basic medical supplies. That's just common sense." I went back to bed, but I didn't sleep. I lay there in the dark, in the bed I'd shared with Linda, staring at the ceiling and thinking about that word, doormat. The next morning, I made a decision. I called my buddy Frank, who I'd worked with at Bombardier. Frank had retired early and started doing handyman work on the side. He was good with technology, security systems, that kind of thing. "I need cameras," I told him over coffee at Tim Hortons. "Inside the house. Small ones. Hidden." Frank studied me over his double-double. "Everything okay, Gary? I just need to document some things." He didn't push. That's why Frank was a good friend. "I can set you up with 4 cameras. Wi-Fi enabled, motion activated, saves to cloud storage. You can monitor everything from your phone. When do you want them installed?" "Today, if possible." Frank came over that afternoon while everyone was out. Sarah had taken the kids to the splash pad. Trevor was at one of his mysterious networking lunches that seemed to happen 3 times a week. We installed cameras in the living room, kitchen, main hallway, and one pointed at the driveway. Tiny things, barely noticeable unless you knew where to look. Frank showed me how to access the feeds on my phone, how to download footage, how to set up alerts. "You sure everything's all right?" Frank asked again as he was leaving. "I'm being careful," I said. "That's all." "Well, you've got my number if you need anything." I started watching and listening, and what I saw over the next 2 weeks made my blood run cold. I saw Trevor going through my mail when I was out getting groceries, saw him open a letter from my financial advisor, take photos of the statements with his phone, then carefully reseal the envelope. I saw him in my bedroom when everyone else was asleep, opening my dresser drawers, looking through Linda's old jewelry box. He took nothing, just looked, but the violation of it made my hands shake. I heard him on phone calls. So many phone calls. "Gary's sitting on at least 400,000, he told someone. "The house is paid off, worth probably 750, 800 in this market. Plus his pension, his RRSP. The old guy's loaded, and he's got no one but Sarah." Another call, a few days later. "I'm working on her. She feels guilty about how long we've been here, but I keep reminding her he's got plenty of space, plenty of money. He's lonely anyway. We're doing him a favor." Another. "Once Sarah's on the title, we can look at a reverse mortgage or refinancing. He's 63. He could live another 20 years. But that doesn't mean the equity has to sit there doing nothing." I downloaded every conversation, saved every video. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. But the worst part, the part that truly broke something in me, was what I overheard him tell Sarah one night when they thought I was asleep. They were in the kitchen, speaking in low voices. The camera picked up everything. "Your dad asked me today when I thought we might find our own place," Trevor said. "What did you tell him?" Sarah sounded tired. She always sounded tired these days. "I told him we're looking. But Sarah, honestly, why would we leave? He's got this whole house to himself. We're helping him. You know how lonely he was after your mom died." "I know, but Trevor, it's been over a year. Don't you feel like we're taking advantage?" "Taking advantage? Babe, we're family. Family helps each other. Besides, think about the kids. They love having Grandpa around. And when he gets older, we'll be right here to take care of him. It's perfect. I just feel bad. He won't let us pay rent, won't take money for groceries. Because he doesn't need it. The man's sitting on a fortune. Let him help his grandkids. Let him feel useful." "Honestly, Sarah." There was a long pause. Then Sarah said quietly, "Sometimes I think we should have tried harder to make it work on our own." "And live where? In some crappy apartment where the kids share a bedroom the size of a closet? Come on. Your dad's happy to help. Stop feeling guilty about accepting help from family." The way he said it. So smooth. So reasonable. He'd convinced my daughter that they were doing me a favor by living in my house, eating my food, using my utilities, while he schemed to get his name on my property. I sat in my bedroom, watching that footage on my phone, and I felt something shift inside me. It wasn't anger, exactly. It was colder than that, clearer. I wasn't going to be the doormat anymore. The next morning, I called my lawyer, Margaret Chen. I'd used her when Linda and I did our wills years ago. She was sharp, no nonsense, exactly what I needed. Margaret, I need advice about protecting my assets, I said, and I need to know my options regarding someone who's been living in my home. We met that afternoon. I showed her everything. The videos, the audio recordings, the documentation I'd been keeping of every expense, every request, every boundary crossed. Margaret watched the footage with an expression that grew progressively harder. When the recording of Trevor talking about getting Sarah on the title played, she stopped and rewound it, watched it again. "This is elder financial abuse," she said flatly, "or the groundwork for it, at minimum. The fact that he's photographing your financial documents without permission, discussing your assets with third parties, planning to access your home equity without your knowledge or consent. This is serious. Gary, what can I do?" "Several things. First, we secure everything. I'll have my office contact your bank, your financial advisor, everyone. We make sure all your accounts require in-person verification for any changes, that Sarah's not listed as power of attorney or joint account holder anywhere." "She's not. I never did that." "Good. Second, we need to address the living situation. Ontario's Residential Tenancies Act doesn't apply when you're sharing a kitchen and bathroom with the people living there, which you are. That means you can ask them to leave with reasonable notice. I'd recommend 60 days in writing, and if they don't leave, then we file for an order. But Gary, I have to ask, are you sure about this? This is your daughter we're talking about." I thought about Sarah, my baby girl who used to sit on my shoulders at Canada Day fireworks, who'd called me crying from university when her boyfriend broke her heart, who'd asked me to walk her down the aisle at her wedding to Trevor 6 years ago. I thought about the Sarah I'd overheard in the kitchen, sounding tired and guilty, being slowly poisoned against her own father by a man who saw me as nothing but a resource to exploit. "Sarah's not the problem," I said. "Trevor is. But she's chosen to believe him, and I can't force her to see what she doesn't want to see. I need to protect myself. I need to protect what Linda and I built." Margaret nodded. "Then, here's what we're going to do." Over the next week, I followed Margaret's instructions exactly. I went to my bank and added extra security to every account. I met with my financial advisor and moved assets into protected trusts. I changed my will, removing Trevor's name from any section where I'd previously mentioned him as Sarah's spouse. I documented everything Trevor did, every request, every expense, every invasion. The cameras captured him eating my food, using my tools without asking, going through my things when he thought I wasn't paying attention, and then I waited for the right moment. It came on a Saturday morning in early June. I'd been up since 5, preparing. Sarah had taken the kids to her friend's house for a play date. Trevor was still asleep. At 9 o'clock, I knocked on the spare bedroom door. Trevor answered, bleary-eyed and annoyed. "What's up, Gary? I need to talk to you. Kitchen. Now." Something in my voice must have registered because he actually looked uncertain for a moment. But then he shrugged. "Yeah, okay. Let me grab a coffee first." "No, now." I walked to the kitchen. After a moment, I heard him follow. He shuffled in, still in his pajamas, and reached for the coffee maker. "Trevor, sit down." "Dude, I need coffee before I can have a serious conversation." I said, "Sit down." He sat. I remained standing. I placed a manila folder on the table between us. "Open it." "What is this?" "Open it." He did. Inside were printed screenshots from the security footage. Trevor going through my mail. Trevor in my bedroom. Trevor on his phone. And I'd had the audio transcribed beneath each image. I watched the color drain from his face. "Gary, I can explain." "No, you're going to listen. For the first time in 16 months, you're going to shut your mouth and listen to me." He closed his mouth. "I am not your doormat. I am not your free labor. I am not your retirement plan. I am a 63-year-old man who made the mistake of thinking that helping my daughter meant tolerating her husband's abuse." "Abuse? Gary, come on, that's... You photographed my financial documents without permission. That's a criminal offense under the Personal Information Protection Act. You've been planning to access my home equity without my knowledge or consent. That's attempted fraud. You've been manipulating my daughter, telling her I'm lonely and need you here, when the truth is, you're bleeding me dry because you're too lazy to support your own family. Trevor's face was red now. You don't understand the job market, old man. It's not like your generation where you could just walk into a factory and I've contacted every company you claim to have interviewed with in the past 6 months. You want to know how many actual interviews you've had? 2. 2 interviews, Trevor. The rest of the time you've been networking, you've been at sports bars and golf courses. His mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. My voice was steady, cold. I barely recognized it as my own. You, Sarah, and the kids have 60 days to find new accommodations. This is my home. My name is on the deed. My money paid the mortgage, and you have no legal right to be here beyond my goodwill, which you've exhausted. You can't just throw your own daughter out. I can, and I will, if she chooses to stay with you. Sarah can make her own choice. The kids are welcome here anytime. But you're done. Sarah's not going to leave me. She loves me. Then you'll all leave together. 60 days, Trevor. I slid a second document across the table. This is a formal notice to vacate, prepared by my lawyer. It's legal and binding. If you're not out in 60 days, we file for a court order. And if you try to contest this, I'll release every recording I have to the police, and to Sarah, and to your parents, and to every future employer who Googles your name. Trevor stood up so fast his chair fell over. You're bluffing. You wouldn't do that to Sarah. She's your daughter. Exactly. She's my daughter, and I love her. Which is why I'm giving you both the chance to leave quietly. But I will not let you destroy what Linda and I spent our lives building. I will not let you teach my grandchildren that it's acceptable to use people. I will not be your doormat. He was breathing hard, his fists clenched. For a moment, I thought he might actually take a swing at me. I almost hoped he would. The cameras were rolling, but he didn't. He grabbed the notice, crumpled it, threw it on the floor, and stormed out. I heard him thundering up the stairs, heard drawers slamming, heard him on the phone, his voice too muffled to make out words, but the anger clear. I sat down at the kitchen table and waited. My hands weren't shaking anymore. 2 hours later, Sarah came home with the kids. I heard her voice in the hallway, then Trevor's, low and urgent. The kids ran to the backyard. Sarah appeared in the kitchen doorway. She'd been crying. My heart broke a little. Dad, can we talk? Of course, sweetheart. She sat across from me, in the same chair Trevor had occupied. She looked so much like Linda in that moment. Same worried expression. Same way of tucking her hair behind her ear. Trevor told me you're kicking us out. I'm asking you to find your own place, yes. Because of some misunderstanding? Dad, he said you've been spying on us, that you've been... Sarah, stop. I pulled out my phone, opened the cloud storage app, and slid it across the table. Before you believe what Trevor's told you, watch these. Please. She looked at the phone like it might bite her. Dad, I don't want to. Watch them. Then we'll talk. I left the kitchen, went out to the backyard where my grandkids were playing on the swing set I'd built. Emma, now 8, and Jacob, now 5. Beautiful kids. They deserved better than to grow up watching their father manipulate their mother, manipulate their grandfather. I pushed Jacob on the swing. Emma showed me a caterpillar she'd found. Normal grandfather things, except nothing was normal anymore. 30 minutes later, Sarah came outside. Her face was blotchy, her eyes red. Can Mom watch the kids for a minute? She asked Emma. Emma looked uncertain but took Jacob inside. Sarah sat on the deck steps. I sat beside her. We didn't speak for a long time. Finally, she said, How long have you known? About 2 weeks, for certain. Suspected for longer. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me without proof? She was quiet. We both knew the answer. I feel so stupid, she whispered. I kept telling myself it was temporary, that things would get better, that Trevor was just struggling, that the job market was tough, that he needed support. It's not your fault. Yes, it is. She turned to me, tears streaming. I knew, Dad. Deep down, I knew something was wrong. I knew he was taking advantage. I knew he was manipulating the situation. But it was easier to pretend everything was fine than to admit I'd made a mistake, than to admit I'd married someone who'd use my own father like that. I put my arm around her shoulders. She leaned into me, the way she used to when she was little. "What am I going to do?" she asked. "That's up to you, sweetheart. You're an adult. You make your own choices. But I want you to know, you and the kids will always have a place here. Just not Trevor. Not anymore. He's going to fight this. I know. He's going to say terrible things about you. He's going to try to turn people against you. I know that too." She pulled back, looked at me. "I'm so sorry, Dad. For all of it. For bringing him here. For believing him. For letting this go on so long. Sarah, I don't blame you. I blame Trevor. And I blame myself for not setting boundaries sooner. But we're here now, and we deal with it from here." She nodded, wiped her eyes. "I need some time to think, to figure out what I'm going to do. Take all the time you need." The next few weeks were hard. Trevor tried everything. He cried, he raged, he threatened, he pleaded. He told Sarah I was being cruel, vindictive, that I'd changed since Linda died, that I was having some kind of breakdown. Sarah, to her credit, didn't budge. She'd seen the videos. She'd heard the recordings. She couldn't unsee or unhear them. She filed for separation 3 weeks after our conversation. Trevor moved in with his parents. Sarah and the kids stayed with me while she looked for her own place, something manageable on her nursing salary. Trevor tried to get Sarah to sue me for financial support, claiming I'd made verbal promises about helping with their future home purchase. My lawyer shut that down with the recordings, evidence that any discussions of financial help had been contingent on Trevor actively seeking employment, which he demonstrably wasn't doing. He tried to claim grandparents' rights, saying I couldn't keep him from seeing the kids when they were at my house. Margaret explained that grandparents' rights applied to grandparents seeking access, not fathers trying to maintain access to a home they'd been evicted from. He even tried to report me for illegal surveillance. The police officer who took the call explained that recording video in your own home is perfectly legal in Ontario, and suggested Trevor might want to focus his energy on finding employment rather than harassing a senior citizen. By August, Sarah had found a nice 2-bedroom townhouse in Oakville, close to her hospital. I helped her move, hired movers, paid the first and last month's rent as a gift. Not a loan, a gift, from a father to his daughter. Emma and Jacob visit every Wednesday after school and every other weekend. We make cookies, we build Lego, we watch movies. I taught Emma how to use my old toolbox, the one that used to be my father's. She's good with her hands, careful and precise. Trevor sees the kids every other weekend at his parents' place. Sarah's lawyer made sure the custody arrangement was ironclad. He pays child support, though Sarah says he complains about it constantly. Says it's unfair that he has to pay when I'm rich and could easily support them. Some people in the neighborhood took Trevor's side. Doug and Patricia spread stories about how I'd thrown their son out over nothing, how I was a bitter old man who couldn't stand to see young people happy. A few of my neighbors stopped waving when they saw me. I didn't care. The ones who mattered, who knew me, who knew Linda, they understood. Frank understood. My brother Tom understood. Margaret Chen understood. And Sarah understood. Last week, she came over for dinner. Just the two of us. The kids were at Trevor's. We made spaghetti, Linda's recipe with the secret ingredient of a tablespoon of maple syrup in the sauce. Sarah had forgotten about the maple syrup. I showed her again. As we sat eating, she said, "I'm going back to school, part-time nursing program, to get my no-problem certification." "That's wonderful, honey. I wanted to do it years ago, but Trevor said it was too expensive, too much time away from the family. But I've been doing the math, and with my schedule and the kids in school full-time now, I can make it work. I'm proud of you." She smiled. "I'm proud of me too, for the first time in a long time." After she left, I sat in my living room, in the leather recliner Linda had given me. The house was quiet. My house, my space, my peace. I thought about Trevor calling me a doormat, and I thought about how wrong he'd been. A doormat lies down and lets people walk all over it. A doormat has no choice, no agency, no power. But I'd had all of those things. I'd just forgotten for a while. I'm 63 years old. I live alone in a house full of memories. My daughter and grandchildren visit regularly. I volunteer at the community center teaching basic home repairs to newcomers. I have coffee with Frank twice a week. I'm thinking about adopting a dog. I'm not rich by any stretch, but I'm comfortable, secure, content. And I'm not anyone's doormat. Not anymore. Not ever again.